Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and for a talking twist. I feel like we haven't chat for a minute, have we? There's my lamp you guys can see in the background from IKEA that I bought recently in the as-is section. I love the IKEA as-is section, and it works perfectly fine and it looks great, so I'm super happy. She's like, the head can tilt up, so I might tilt it up so it illuminates my silk wall tapestry from dailydecor.ca. This is actually a really good angle because you can see like these planters also from dailydecor.ca, my decorative mirror from dailydecor.ca, and of course my YouTube plaque from YouTube. So let's get to deep conditioning, shall we? There's something about freshly washed, clean hair that just makes you just giddy inside. And when my hair is clean, it looks extra black, which I just love. You know, I've always wanted to play with color, but at the end of the day, I really love black hair. And I honestly also feel like my hair looks, I was gonna say better, which is true, but thicker black. So I've got two deep conditioners here from the hair store. I think I'm gonna go with this one. I don't know if there's enough to do my whole head, but we'll see. This one has peppermint oil, so it's very cooling, and I love a tingle. I love a good tingle. So today I thought what I would talk about is practical ways to decenter men in your life. So decentering men has actually always been a topic, an underlying current on my channel before I had the actual verbiage for it. I didn't realize, like I was just, y'all, sometimes I really be ahead of the game and don't be knowing it. The reason why it had always been sort of like an underlying topic on my channel is because of the way I chose to, you know, live my lifestyle and also publicly share my lifestyle. I am divorced. I was married in a long-term relationship with a man, unfortunately, for 20 years. And despite getting married, I chose to not have children with this person, with this man. I was constantly questioned about that. And one of the comments that I got often was, what's the point? Which I found so funny. What's the point of getting married if you're not gonna have kids? That, my friends, is centering men. Now, I wasn't doing it. I wasn't actively doing it because I was decentering men. I just didn't want kids, right? But thinking back, now I realize that, yeah, that is sort of an act of decentering men, the act of, you know, still getting married because you want to, because it's something that's important to you or something that you hold value with, but not holding on to this ideal that the whole purpose of marriage is to procreate for a man. The other example, and this is the one that I got the most, was, why on earth does your niece live with you when you're married? Like, you're a grown married woman, why is your niece there? And again, that comes from centering men and thinking that the only way to live in a household after being married is with your partner alone. That's simply how I grew up. And that is, I find, and you guys can disagree if you want, much more common in cultures that I consider more matriarchal. For example, Jamaican, Caribbean in general, I find, and like I said, you guys can disagree with me. This is just my personal opinion. This is not based in fact or studies that I've looked into. But in my opinion, I feel like Caribbean culture leans more to matriarchy. You know, Mama Daley is the head of the household. Like, what grandma says goes. You know what I mean? The grandma holds it together. Or the big auntie, kind of like Big Mama on Soul Food, you know, that kind of vibe. And I find the same to be true with a lot of West African cultures. It's usually the mom runs the household, like she's the boss. She's the one you have to fear, not the daddy. The daddy fears the mommy too. And I say that in contrast to some other cultures, such as maybe some Asian cultures like Indian or Chinese, for example, which in my opinion, you know, based on my interactions with these families, lean more towards patriarchal. And so that's just my opinion. I think that for me, growing up in a Caribbean household, that was just the norm. Like, it was not looked at as odd to not live in a single family household. We very much value our extended family, and we very much value our female connections. So it was no big deal to move Keisha in with me. Me and Keisha have now lived together, I think, going on 9 years. That's another example of something I constantly got questioned on, because most people see that as not valuing the man as opposed to simply valuing myself. You know what I mean? Like, I can value both my male partner as well as my own personal values. With that being said, I found that most of the time with this decentering men discussion, it's typically made in a very broad sense. You know, when I see creators talking about it, they're talking about it more as a general construct, you know, like decentering your mind from the patriarchy, etc., but not giving concrete examples. And because I still get those types of comments from time to time, I thought, well, those are two legit examples of ways, like practical ways that you can decenter men. So I thought we could go over some other practical ways that we can decenter men if that is something that you want to do for yourself. It's not necessary, obviously. It's not for everybody, I suppose you could say. I am of the opinion that decentering men makes your life more rich. So the first example I gave, of course, was not having children. That's a very personal choice, and one that should be made, in my opinion, with a lot of thought. I personally, this is controversial, but I personally think that people who choose to be child-free, and I'm not talking about childless, because there is a difference actually in the verbiage. Child-free means you have actively chosen not to have kids. Childless typically means that you wanted kids, but for whatever reason don't have any. So with that being said, I think that child-free people who choose to be actively child-free, actually put way more thought into it than people who choose to have children. Which is ironic that people who are child-free get questioned much more about, are you sure, when they've literally had to spend their entire life defending that choice from every person in their life. I feel like I can confidently say that. I've experienced it. So you can absolutely get married. You can absolutely value the institution of marriage and not have children. On the flip side, you can also have children and not enter into the institute of marriage. It really is about valuing what you want, you personally. The reason I like to talk about it is because I didn't have examples of these discussions when I was, in my 20s or even early 30s. So if perchance any 20-year-old or 30-year-old comes across my videos, that's why I want to talk about it, because I think it's an important discussion. I'm very hopeful for, the generation after us. So that's why I talk about these things, because it was not normal to talk about during my heyday, and it's still pretty much stigmatized. The second example I brought up, of course, was your living situation. So you can choose your family. You guys live with the people who bring you joy. Live with the people who you want to live with. Live with the people who make your life easier. Live with the people who bring your life peace. You don't have to live with a man, 2.5 kids, a cat, and a picket fence just because the government tells you that's the American average. You know what I mean? Like, I absolutely love my household. We choose to live together at this point because of that reason. Like, we have a mutually beneficial household. We have a household that runs really well and that we enjoy, and that works well for us. And that's what I want for everybody. I'm not just talking to the single ladies. Listen, girl, you literally do not have to live with that man. Yeah, I'm talking to you married ladies too. Yeah, that's right. I read a study that the marriages that last the longest are marriages that have separate residences. And it's becoming more and more popular. I just feel like some people put way more thought into curating their outfit than to curating their household, the people that they are going to live with 8 to 16 hours a day, So, curate that too, girl. Again, those were two examples from my own life, but let's talk about some other practical ways that you can decenter men. And okay, I kind of need to take my own advice on this one because y'all see how I be running out this house looking like an absolute who did it and why. Get cute when you're going out by yourself or with friends, but when you're going out, get cute. Not just when you're going out on a date. Not just when y'all go look man. You understand what I said? It's like, why do we tend to do that? Put so much thought into our makeup, our hair, our outfit when we are going on a romantic date. We can do that for ourselves, you know what I mean? Plus, you really don't know who you're gonna run into on the streets. As I have learned, I stay running into you guys. But anyways, y'all take me as I am, so it's fine. But you get my you get my drift. I would like to look a little cuter for you guys as opposed to just getting cute when I'm going on dates. There's no reason why we shouldn't be putting just as much thought and care into our appearance when it does not have to do with a man and or a romantic connection. And I should interject and say, although I am saying man, I'm still speaking to any type of romantic relationship because, you know, a lot of relationships, regardless of gender, do center around patriarchal roles, right? So just decentering those patriarchal roles, whether it's a man or not, technically, I think enriches your life. So y'all are included, Rainbow Crew, y'all are included. Okay, the next one I think is something that people overlook all the time, and I really don't understand why. And that is joint accounts and or joint memberships. For some reason, I don't know why we're stuck in our head that a joint membership or joint account has to be with a spouse and or partner, and it absolutely positively does not. Like, stop waiting for that man. Stop waiting for that person. Just do it. I've told you guys before, it is expensive to be single, okay? There's something called the single tax. And it's not an actual physical tax, but it is similar to the pink tax, where women just pay more for the same product that men do just because they put it in cute pink packaging, right? Well, single people pay more for life than couples do just because the world revolves around couples. For example, phone packages. You get a deal if you're on a family plan. If you have a roommate, housemate, if you live with your mom, why not? You know, family plan does not mean it has to be your husband and kids. You can get a family plan with whoever you want to. Get those joint accounts, okay? Gym membership. Maybe you are ready to start your fitness journey and he or they are not, but maybe your sister happens to want to start working out. Get a gym membership with your sister. Save that coin and center yourself and your own needs. And the needs of your tribe, the needs of your circle, you know, the needs of your village that everybody wants to talk about, but nobody actually seems to want to put in the work to cultivate. You know, roadside assistance. Why not cover you and your best friend's car? Like, it doesn't have to be you and your man. It doesn't have to be you and your husband. Your husband can literally have his own roadside assistance through work, or whatever the case may be. Do it with your people. Do it with your village. Do it with your extendeds. I would say this also applies to property, home ownership. It's a lot easier to get approved for a home now in this economy with a dual income. I'm blessed enough that I've been able to do it on my own, but if I wasn't, I don't think there's anything that would be stopping me from pursuing home ownership with somebody who I was not romantically involved in. Like, let's get ahead in life together as women. And I know what you're thinking, Toni, what happens if you have a friendship breakup? Well, the same thing that would happen if you have a romantic breakup. You know, close the account, pay out your part, they pay out their part, and you move on. Yes, friendship breakups happen all the time. That's a risk you take. But my point is, why are we willing to take the risk only for a man/romantic relationship? That should not be the case. What happens if the friendship breaks up and you own property together or you own a car together? Like I said, same thing that would happen if your romantic relationship broke up. You know, a mortgage is a legal binding contract. So you hire a lawyer, you split your assets, you go your separate ways. And I think it's a lot easier than divorce. Because men never want to cooperate in a divorce. My ex refused to sign divorce papers, refused to assist in any way in selling property, refused to do anything, lift a finger. In my experience, in my opinion, women are much more rational creatures. So I'd much rather, to be honest, go through that with a woman who also wants to just get it over with and move on than with another ain't shit man. And I know a lot of you will think, oh, Toni, you're just bitter. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I personally disagree, but it's fine if you think that. My point is, even if that is true, even if I am bitter, it doesn't really change anything, does it? Statistically, we still outlive men. You could have a great marriage, an amazing, perfect partner, and say, oh, well, I'm so glad I never have to worry about those things. And then they die. Or maybe they are so good at their job that they get relocated. You know, my point is that you could, at some point, find yourself without your partner, regardless of how it came about. It doesn't always have to come about from infidelity, right? It could just be life. That leads to my last point that I think, my last practical way of decentering men, which is to stop automatically diverting to a man for your plus one. We all get invited to a plethora of life events, right? Weddings, showers, birthday parties, whatever, a lot of stuff. And I feel like majority of us will default to our significant other. Let me make it clear. I'm not saying bringing your significant other to an event is a bad thing. It's not. Obviously, I'm assuming you love spending time with this person. But to default to it is where I think we need to actually stop and think why. Because if I get invited, for example, to an influencer event hosted by Maybelline, why wouldn't I default to thinking about Keisha, who is a girly girl who loves makeup, as opposed to, I'm gonna bring my man. If I get invited to a wedding by my high school geometry teacher who I went to class with my sister, why wouldn't I bring her as a plus one? Like, we were both in, you know, Mr. Geometry's class. Why would I default to my man? That's what I mean. I mean, why don't we think about the actual people, like the full spectrum of people in our life, instead of just automatically plus one, babe, take off this and this Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, let's think about it and stop deferring automatically to the man. So call me bitter if you want. However, I am a true believer in that decentering men will only enrich your life. I want you to honestly think about the last time you went to a hospital. Really, really think about who all the visitors were. It's women. So invest in your tribe, build up your tribe, love your tribe, pick your tribe, center your tribe. Because life is better. Life is better that way. Thanks for chatting with me, guys, and for keeping me company while I put that deep conditioner in. I'm gonna let this sit probably for half an hour and then rinse it out and do my LCO method. Be sure to chime in the comments. What other practical ways do you decenter men / romantic relationships in your life? Let's share. Let's have some tips and tricks and talk about it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.